Are you ready to get the best night's sleep of your life? As an experienced holistic clinical nutritionist, I'm about to share with you those things that I have learned over time that actually make a difference and truly move the needle. So let's get right into it with number one. And that number one is actually taking care of your microbiome, but very specifically. When we talk about microbiome, many people think, oh, I'm just going to go out and take a probiotic. And that seems to maybe help a couple of things here and there. But that's not quite enough. And it's not really going to move the needle when it comes to your sleep unless you're looking at the absolute right strain. This is a really cool study that I found as I've been getting deeper and deeper into learning more and more about the power of this one little specific strain called Lactobacillus reuteri. Now, there's so much more to learn about this, but when we're talking about just specific to sleep, this particular trial really caught my eye. Number one, because it's the gold standard. It's what we're looking for in research. It's a double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial. We had at least 156 people in this trial, and it was 8 weeks. And very encouraging, as you go down here to see that the probiotic group had a more significant reduction in depressive symptoms at 4 and 8 weeks. That's the other piece I love about this. It's not just about the sleep. They were actually also looking at depression and anxiety, which is my absolute passion to be able to help bring more and more things to anybody out there struggling with depression and anxiety so that they know that there's more things you can layer into your toolkit that will improve upon that and get you where you need to go. But when it comes to sleep, which would also improve on your mental health, I would say, those receiving the probiotics also experienced an improvement in sleep quality. Now, that's really important, right? We want to make sure that if we are getting to get to sleep, that we're actually getting good sleep. We're not waking up multiple times at night. Now, just a little spoiler alert about more information to come on this reuteri, and I'll be doing a lot of videos on that, is it has a lot to do with oxytocin production, which also has been shown to help reduce disturbances in sleep and improve many, many things in your health. So number two, really quickly, is something that I have taken a lot of time to kind of debate back and forth in my mind because it gets a little complicated because there's a lot more chemistry to it than just this one vitamin. But the vitamin is vitamin D. Now, when we created our list of the do's and don'ts of getting a good night's sleep, we talked about people getting up early and getting early sunlight exposure and getting as much vitamin T as they can from the sun. But what I've also learned is that the most effective thing for somebody to get better is something that they'll actually do. And so oftentimes people intend to get up and they intend to get out and get some sunlight. But what I've learned is that people just aren't getting enough sunlight to really adequately get the vitamin D that they need. So I have progressed in my learning to say that if you're going to supplement something, vitamin D is probably that. Now, we can get some from mushrooms and we can get some from certain foods, especially seafood. Well, I've learned that most people aren't eating enough seafood. So again, that leads me to this idea that possibly that is something that needs to be supplemented. Now, let me just say right away that my goal overall is to be able to replace all supplements with foods if we can do that and create a real diet that supports it. But until we get there, so we can actually get to sleep, we can actually be healing and getting rested, it's probably important to look at supplementing vitamin D, specifically in the morning. Now, I always tell people, since we probably would most likely be getting vitamin D from the sun, we want to get the amounts that would be similar to what we would be getting from the sun. So we don't want to do these massive amounts of them all at once. We probably want to do a little bit throughout the day if we can. But if you're only able to do one thing, maybe just adding a little bit of vitamin D in the morning would probably be one of the best things you can do to help you sleep at night. Now, I'd love to go into a little bit more details on that because you want to balance the D with your essential fatty acids and your vitamin A and the last one on this list, which is actually essential for vitamin D. So it's interesting that they go together, and that's magnesium. But before you run out and grab a magnesium supplement, it's again super important to get it from a whole food source. There's so many cofactors that come together that make a massive difference in this. Now, I've seen so much in my clinic where people are using different forms like magnesium glycinate. That's supposed to be the most researched and most exciting, and everybody thinks that that's the best one. Well, it's not necessarily the best at crossing the blood-brain barrier, or magnesium lactate or magnesium citrate, malate. Now, all of those, now this is what most people actually don't even know. All of those, if they know what form it is because it was actually made in a lab using magnesium oxide first and treating it with these acids to create that specific form. When you're getting it from a whole food, you're getting multiple forms. You're getting so many forms that they don't even know exactly which forms they are and how much. But there's so much magic in getting all of those together that there have been studies that show that when you get it from a whole food source, my particular favorite source is a combination of buckwheat and Swiss chard, you actually get a better delivery beyond the blood-brain barrier than magnesium threonate, which is the champion in all of the research in these isolated compounds. So when you're looking at 3 things that you want to do to improve your sleep, you want to think about quality and very specifically those ones that are going to really move the needle. So many times somebody say, I tried magnesium, but it didn't really work for me. Well, you probably weren't getting the right form and you weren't getting it with all the cofactors. I'll put in the links below what I personally use at night. Every night I use that magnesium source because I have found, and I measure it on my Oura ring, that I get greater deep sleep and I get greater REM sleep. And this has been reflected in all the people who come to see me in my clinic who also use the Oura ring. That vitamin D in the morning, check your vitamin D first. Maybe that's a great place to start to see where you're at and understand that perhaps, like most people, you are somebody who's just not getting enough despite your best efforts. And then that secret sauce that we started out with is what's happening in the microbiome, but making sure you're getting a very specific strain that I can't wait to do a lot more information on, that rootery that is just a game changer when it comes to these 3 things, when it comes to sleep overall. So try these 3 things. And if you're still not getting the best sleep of your life, then we'll get that checklist going for you and we'll have more videos to get all of the possibilities of what's slowing you down out of the way so you can get back to getting the best sleep of your life. Have a good one.